Hey Rockers fans, sitting to my right we have Cooper Casad. I am so excited for you all to get to know him a little bit behind the scenes. First and foremost, Cooper, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
So I want to jump right into the fact that it's almost Friday, very hot day here in High Point, North Carolina. Pretty nice week so far. How did you get your week started and how do you like to get your mornings kicked off usually?
Mornings, definitely a cup of coffee or a nice cup of Earl Grey. That's definitely my go-to in the morning. Actually not a big breakfast eater. I tend to skip that meal. Usually just a liquid breakfast. As far as this week, actually did something a little bit different. Being on the IL, have a little bit more time to relax and recover. So doing a 3-day fast currently. Kind of been just relaxing, conserving energy and trying to not, give into the food cravings.
So let's talk about this 3-day fast, because before we actually started recording, you mentioned that you're doing just water and then 1 bottle of salt water a day.
Yep.
How are you managing this?
Try to sleep as much as you can. That's probably my biggest piece of advice. Honestly, the second day is the hardest. You just gotta kind of have the mental fortitude to not give in to the cravings for food. Today I'm doing a lot better. A lot of the mental fogginess is kind of cleared out and kind of have a little bit more energy, ironically. So I think that's my body kind of switching into that ketosis, that fat burning, deep kind of healing and clearing out all the bad, whether it's just different toxins or kind of even just damaged cells and stuff like that. So kind of just a hard reset and looking forward to that first meal tomorrow, I will tell you that.
Detoxing the body is definitely a good thing. Actually, I started not necessarily doing the water cleansing, but eating more organic foods lately, and I definitely notice my body feeling a lot more energetic and feeling better because there's not as many pesticides and things like that in the foods. I agree with that. I don't know if I can handle a water cleanse. Maybe one day I can get there, but I do agree with detoxing your body in different ways. What is something positive that has happened to you personally this week?
Positive this week? Ooh.
Anything. It could be a phone call, something fun that you did.
It was catching up with a buddy I haven't seen in a while, and actually have 2 off days, so I'm going to be able to go down and sneak in a visit, go catch up with him a little bit more. So that was kind of a unexpected surprise, and it's always good catching up with friends.
What is some good self-care, and what does self-care mean to you?
Well, for me, definitely, I'm a big eater. I love my food, so definitely love splurging on a nice meal every now and then. Taking the time to be quiet, whether it's just 5-10 minutes of breathing or meditation, getting away. We're in a culture that with technology and everything's at our fingertips. It's just now, and really taking the time to slow down, be present with yourself, not other people's marketing or needs of you, and just really be in touch with what do you need in the moment, I think is the biggest form of self-care and healing, I'd say.
And if you guys are kind of following along with this, the end of our interview will kind of make sense while I'm asking some of these questions about self-care, mental health, well-being, just learning how to detox yourself. It'll all make sense towards the end when we get to that portion. But where did you grow up and where are you from? I heard through the grapevine you might be from California.
I am from the grapevine, yeah. I'm actually from wine country in Sonoma County. I'm from Petaluma, California. Actually spent most of my time in Santa Rosa going to school, which is about 45 minute drive away. Most of my baseball and growing up was done in Petaluma, and so kind of had 2 different cities I get to call home.
What are some fun, fond childhood memories that you could share with myself and the High Point Rockers fans?
I mean, definitely travel ball was some of my best memories, getting to be in a hotel or a weekend just at the field with a bunch of teammates and friends that are all the same age. You get to run around, get all your energy out. Definitely one of the fondest memories I have. Being home, one of my best friends lived in a cul-de-sac, so at night we'd play kick the can and stuff like that. Some of my fondest memories for sure.
Did you play any other sports as a kid aside from baseball?
I dabbled in a little basketball. I'd like to think I have a better 3-point shot than I probably do. Pretty much just baseball, a little basketball, here and there throughout middle school and high school.
What did you enjoy most about being a kid, or even a teenager? Your early years, Cooper.
I guess it's more now that you're an adult, you realize how carefree you were. You didn't have any concerns, right? Again, maybe the biggest thing looking back on it is food. Those home cooked meals, not having to go to the store yourself, do all the meal prep, the cooking, the cleaning. That's a pretty big privilege when you're young. You just, hey, outside playing, and hey, dinner's ready, show up and eat and then go keep playing. That was probably my favorite moment.
Right, it's already on the table.
Yep.
What were some of your favorite home cooked meals now that we're on that topic?
Ooh, my mom does a good little kind of skirt steak, and then she's known for her soups. I will say her friends and my friends loved her soups, and they were never my favorite. I love you, Mom. I love your soups, but the steak's definitely the one that probably wins my heart for sure.
Sounds good. Let's do some quick, fun, rapid fire questions for the
All right.
High Point Rockers fans to get to know you a little bit more behind the scenes. What is your favorite cartoon? It could either be past or present, or did you ever watch any cartoons?
Did watch some cartoons, although I wasn't allowed to watch TV by myself until about the 3rd grade. And then even then I had like a time limit where I had to jump on a mini trampoline and exercise. Didn't get a ton of cartoons, but I would say SpongeBob SquarePants is probably the go-to.
Are you a find and adventure type of person, or do you like to keep it more low-key?
When I'm home, probably more low-key. I find that most of the adventures typically happen with friends. And sometimes it's my idea, sometimes it's their idea, but it usually takes other people. When I'm traveling, there's something about just being on the road. Maybe I'm out of my comfort zone, I'm kind of already adventuring. It's easier to try new things out, explore new cities and stuff like that.
Some of your top music genres and also artists that you like to listen to.
I mean, my favorite composer is Hans Zimmer. I love big cinematic scores, that epic soundtrack. It really is what makes a lot of movies. You watch a movie on silence and it just doesn't hit the same. So I love the emotion you feel through music, and I think in cinematic music, whether you want, upbeat or battle or sad, whatever it is, there's something there for everyone. So Hans Zimmer is definitely my go-to. One of the reasons I went to Europe last year was to go see him perform with his orchestra, and then he unfortunately was sick that day, but still got to see the live show, and it was pretty amazing.
Interesting that you mention movies and the music that is played and how it kind of like takes into your emotions. I want to talk a little bit about scary movies for a second. So when you're watching a scary movie, and if you're having it on mute like you talk about,
Okay.
you're not as freaked out when the thing just like pops up. You're not really anticipating it, but when they're playing the freaky music and it's like the dum dum and your heart starts to beat, they do a really great job with that.
Yeah.
Not that I'm a big scary movie fan anymore. I used to be when I was younger. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? Just playing into your emotions and getting you prepped for what's about to happen.
I mean, I gotta be honest. I don't love scary movies. I pretty much refuse to watch horror movies due to many nights disappointments with friends. But it's just not my thing. But I have watched a few kind of suspense films, and I definitely agree. If they're, again, that's the whole part of the audio is building up, setting the stage, and I think you don't realize in day-to-day life sometimes how much just different audio cues and stuff, give into your life.
Interesting perspective. Date nights, do you like to go out or stay in?
Probably out. I will say I haven't had a girlfriend in a while, so the staying in nights haven't been too too much of an option too often, but I love exploring, finding a new restaurant, a little cocktail bar or something like that. Finding fun little hole-in-the-wall coffee shops and stuff like that too. So that's more of the adventurous side of me.
College sports or pro sports, or a combo of both?
Pro. Yep.
Strict workout routine, or you just like to go with the flow? Assuming this answer is different in season versus off season, or it could be strict the whole time?
I like to go with the flow, but if I need to be my best, I need to have a routine and stick to it. That's for sure. That's definitely a given. Yeah, sometimes I'm a little too easygoing. I guess it's that Cali mindset of just, go to the beach instead of the gym. It's definitely better for me to have a routine.
Now that we're on that topic, let's discuss workouts and staying healthy, as well as what it's like recovering from injuries.
Recovering from injuries, there's a huge mental, barrier and element, as well as the physical work. So that's definitely probably the more challenging of the two. As far as workouts go, it's definitely easier when you have other people, whether it's coaches or just other athletes to train with. We're all competitors, and just being with another group and seeing the progress they're making, it also encourages you to kind of catch up or even do better than them, and then that drives them to do better and outperform you. That's really where I see a lot of the benefit physically, is the emotional and social support from other people, for sure. Especially going through injury by yourself, it can be a pretty dark path mentally.
I was just about to ask you, how do you prepare mentally and physically to come back from an injury? I know a lot of athletes go through this in multiple different sports. You kind of already answered that question, but can you elaborate on it just a little bit more?
Yeah, I mean, definitely, I think the key is really finding the people in your corner. For me, a lot of them were family, but there were also some amazing coaches here at High Point, as well as down at the facility at Crusty Sports Performance that I was doing my rehab with, really helpful along the way. Sometimes when you're in that deep, kind of dark place with digging yourself a hole, other people might have a better perspective on the reality of the situation. Sometimes, especially in rehab, you take 2 days, you go forward, and then 1 day back, and it feels like you're just constantly working backwards, but they see the steady progression you're making. And sometimes just knowing who you can really trust and who's got your back, and it's not just kind of, hey, you're gonna make it, man, but really giving you, hey, look, this is where we were 2 weeks ago, this is where we are today. you're doing better, right? And being real with that and kind of taking the emotions out of it. What I found was, as somebody who's been fairly athletic my whole life, when there's certain simple tasks that I was now really struggling with, I just never had those hurdles before. That was very, very frustrating and easy to kind of beat myself up for and feel like I wasn't adequate to, or not, that's probably not the right word, but able to do stuff that I really knew I could, and I would beat myself up for it.
Any tips for young athletes that might be tuning in right now, whether it be trying to get into a pro sport or maybe learn something new within their sport or overcome an injury?
100%. I think my biggest tip, it's kind of cheesy, but you got to enjoy it. You got to have fun, especially in today's day where even from a young age, everyone's worried about travel ball and perfect game and all these rankings and, getting recruited to a good high school and then going to a good college, and everyone wants to go to the big Power 5 schools, and it just becomes such a stress-oriented process. And as much as you love the game, it's always, if you play at the highest levels, there's always going to be an element of it is your job, it is work, right? So don't make it a job before it has to be. Like, find what's fun, find what's enjoyable, and find what makes you love that sport, that game, and don't lose that. Because when it does become a grind, whether it's high school or college, at some point, whether it's adding just elements like the weight room that you kind of need to do to support the actual sport on the field, but it may not be the actual part you like doing, it can become a mental grind. And when you don't have that love, it is just going to destroy you. So if you don't have that to fall back on, you're really starting off on the back foot.
I want to kind of segue this portion of the interview into talking a little bit about overcoming the hurdle of grief and loss and having to work through that. I myself and my husband, and it makes me teary-eyed, have had to work through that all this season as well, with the loss of our son, and the 1-year anniversary of that is actually coming up next month, and that has been very tough to mentally work through and deal with every day. I actually wear my son's name on my jersey, and my husband actually wears a patch on his shoulder as well. And I know you lost your dad, I believe, within the last year or so, and staying strong-minded enough to move forward playing a sport while grieving someone so important in your life, while also being away from your parents and other loved ones. How has that whole experience been? Can you give us a little bit of insight?
Yeah, I mean, I'm still honestly probably processing a little bit myself, as I'm sure you can relate. And also, I just want to express apologies for that. And it's never anything fun to go through. I know we've talked about it a little bit. I had a really lovely support structure with my sisters and my mother, and then an amazing outpouring of support from some really close friends growing up. And that was really what helped me get through it. It was actually amazing coming here, even though it was probably about 6 months after he passed, playing with another guy here who had gone through a similar experience where he lost a parent right before or right after he had Tommy John as well. So he kind of got the double whammy too, and he actually had a lot of good things to say. I don't know if I can share his name, but you know who you are. I really appreciate that conversation, and just taking it day by day, understanding that everybody grieves differently. You process it at different times, at different rates, and knowing that it's okay to not be okay at those times. You don't have to be perfect. It still mystifies me. I'm still kind of putting the pieces together myself. It still feels surreal, and like it didn't happen at some days, and other days it's just kind of defeating. Really the only way I could say it. So it gets better. Time tends to help, heal all wounds. Yeah, again, I'd say having that support network, people you can really trust and be open with. And that was probably the key to me. And for me, I'm a talker, so being able to talk to those people and be open and feel respected and supported and safe is probably the biggest thing for me.
Yeah, I completely agree with that, and I just feel like being able to learn how to slowly become comfortable with the uncomfortable and growing and healing through that whole situation, I'm sure has not been the easiest. Time helps a little bit, and you kind of learn to love and learn through it, and I feel like we're never gonna get over this, and as you mentioned, everybody grieves differently and at different paces. What has been the most challenging to you so far with not only losing your dad, but playing baseball? And I know we have to wrap up shortly. And how do you cope in a healthy way with your loss?
I mean, honestly, the most challenging thing was, my dad was probably the frequent person I'd call, whether, post-game, just update him on the game, or he's watching and we talk about it. So that's been weird, having good outings this year and having bad outings, and just kind of getting to the car and wanting to call him on the way home and just kind of being like, well, how do I do this? So, for me, I do have a picture of him I'm very fond of, and just at night I'll kind of have a one-sided conversation, and then, know he's there giving me the support and feedback I need, and just find my answers that way. But yeah, that's kind of the biggest thing, is it just felt like there was a part of my routine that was missing.
Well, Cooper, I appreciate you. I'd love to get you for an extended interview at some time,
Of course.
and thank you for taking the time to speak with us today.
Thank you for having me.